Moat on the volley, and back corner. What a start for West Bromwich Albion. Unbelievable! West Bromwich Albion have ruined his big day.
Line again, and it's Adam Wingy who gets the final touch, and West Bromwich Albion now have a 2-goal cushion.
The Baggies Podcast, giving you the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. Hello and welcome back to the Baggies Podcast, where of course we're giving you all the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. Today we're back again with another podcast and another match reaction episode for you, reacting to the 1-1 draw against Millwall at the Hawthorns, a scrappy affair to say the least. But before we get straight into this podcast, make sure you subscribe to the Baggies Podcast wherever you're listening, whether that's on your podcast provider or YouTube. Be sure to subscribe if you've enjoyed the episode and maybe leave us a little rating if you're feeling nice as well. But yeah, let's get straight in and analyse this game. And we've got a very special guest to do so. We're welcoming Tom from the Baggies Bulletin Instagram page. Tom, how are you doing, mate? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, buddy. Thank you for inviting me on. Yeah,
honestly, a pleasure to have you here on your Baggies podcast debut. So, Tom, just tell us a little bit about the Baggies Bulletin and how you started it and what sort of thing you do, what sort of stuff you do on there.
Yeah, no problem. So, yeah, it's Baggies Bulletin it's just a page on Instagram at this moment in time. So probably about 3 years now I've been doing it for, maybe a little bit longer, but ultimately, yeah, the aim was to just interact with more Baggies fans really and chat to more Albion fans. In my kind of circle of friends, I haven't got any other Albion fans who kind of like I said, sit within my circle of friends. So that was the aim really, and that alone. But yeah, over the kind of last 3 years or so, it's just kind of gradually kind of got a bit bigger and a bit bigger. And, I've got a few more followers over the years and yeah, kind of thought of different things that I can potentially do on the page. So yeah, at this moment in time, I'd like to keep up to date with obviously everything that's going on, all the latest news, etc. But I tried to put a different spin on it in that I like to get the people that follow me, debating, interacting with one another and kind of giving their opinion on things. So I regularly put posts up, debate posts, I guess you'd call them. And then probably about a season and a half ago now I started doing some more video stuff. Basically it's something I've never done before, but yeah, about a year and a half ago I think it was, started just doing previews of the games, reviews afterwards, and I started filming myself, especially that season when we were all in lockdown and we were all having to watch the football, on the TV. Started just doing a few reaction videos, which went down really well, and I got a few followers off the bat. Considering expanding, I've been thinking on and do something like that, but I've not had the opportunity at this moment in time, so it's strictly Instagram at the moment, but those kind of thoughts are in the back of my head. But
yeah, and obviously as you mentioned about the lockdown season, obviously we had a bit of lockdown last season, obviously with the season that we went down in the Premier League. It must have been a pretty difficult season to report on, but obviously now things have changed slightly. We're back in the Championship. How have you sort of perceived the season so far? Because it's been a bit more positive, or certainly in comparison with last season.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough season to report on and like you said, keep the page updated with everything that's going on, because the vast majority of it was obviously very negative, wasn't it? But we've started the season off really well, haven't we? And yeah, it's been mostly positive vibes, hasn't it, so far this season? And yeah, it's much more enjoyable reporting on Baggies wins and good positive performances, isn't it? So it's a hell of a lot better. I'm really enjoying it so far this season.
Yeah, I think you speak for a lot of Albion fans. It's just so nice to come out of a pretty drab season last year, obviously, and then get back in the ground, obviously, and start to get back involved in the club again, almost, and be back in the ground after what felt like a pretty distant season last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the biggest one, isn't it? It's just the fans getting back to the stadium. It just seemed to drag on and on, didn't it? That lockdown and the fans being away from football as a whole, and obviously Albion fans being away from the Hawthorns. So yeah, it's obviously the fans are back in the stadiums now. And I don't know about you, it was a little bit it felt a little bit odd at first, I guess, because it had been so long that we'd been to the Hawthorns with, you know, a really packed out stadium. It was it was a little bit odd at first, but yeah, we're obviously a few games into the season now, and things are back to normal. And we've got some great atmospheres, haven't we? We've had some great atmospheres at the games. So
yeah, and you were at the game yesterday, weren't you, Tom, for the Millwall game, which is what we're here to talk about. So obviously going into that game, as we both mentioned before we started recording, due to various transport issues, we didn't quite make the kickoff of the game. But obviously going into the game, and with the obviously I think it was just the one change with Kipre coming into the lineup. What did you sort of make of the lineup, and where would you have differed depending on, you know, if you were the manager almost?
Yeah, I agree with the decision to play Kipre. Obviously, O'Shea, you know, he's out for some time now, and it was a shout really between Kipre, the young lad Taylor, and Connor Townsend potentially playing there. I know we brought in Keane Bryan, didn't we, last week, but I don't think he's had much of a pre-season. I think he's got to get up to speed really before he gets that start. So yeah, out of those three players, I did think Ismail was going to go for Kipre, and I think that was the right choice to make, to be honest, because, you know, I think we need to leave Connor Townsend out on that left wing back position. I think he's been fantastic so far this season, and I thought he had a decent game yesterday as well. So yeah, I was happy with Kipre coming in for O'Shea. I think the one I was surprised about was he went with Dean Garner, Phillips and Grant, didn't he, up in that top three. And there wasn't really a out-and-out striker, was there really, playing, which was a bit of a surprise for me. But they're three good attacking players. So yeah, well, when the team was announced, I was happy. You know, it was a strong team. I still felt one that was good enough to cause Millwall some problems.
Yeah, I agree with you really there about the front three. I was a bit confused because obviously Phillips, we know that in pre-season he played quite a lot up front, and we were a bit surprised because everybody was looking and going, Phillips, he's more of a winger, or even further back, maybe in midfield somewhere. So we're a bit surprised to see no natural striker up front. Obviously Robinson and Hugh Gill obviously on the bench, but obviously Robertson coming back after international duty. Would you maybe whack one of them in there up front? Just maybe obviously Hugh Gill and Robinson came on themselves in the game, but would you maybe started them up there?
Yeah, well, in the video I did before the game on my page, I'd predicted him to just kind of bring Robinson straight back into the mix. You obviously don't know, how he's come back from international duty, whether he's a bit tired or whether he's got a bit of a knock or whatnot. But yeah, I would have then, if I'd known that Robinson wouldn't have played, I would have then expected Ismail to have played Hugo. So I was a little bit surprised to see him go with that attacking three, especially considering the type of team that Millwall are. That they've got some big defenders, haven't they? And they're a very physical team. So I was a bit surprised, but like I said, the three top players on their day, good enough to cause Millwall problems. So I wasn't concerned, shall we say? I was just a bit surprised, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It was a bit of a surprise, to be honest. I was a bit surprised he picked Kipre because I know a few managers have had Kipre and in their spells at the club over the past couple of years, and nobody's really taken to him. And I thought Ismail was going to fall into that bracket, but yeah, I suppose it's nice to see him hopefully going to get a run of games now due to injury, because he hasn't really had the chance to get involved in the first team since signing from Wigan when he signed from us a couple of years ago. Yeah, definitely.
I think a few people have been a bit critical of him, but I think you make a good point there. I think you can only really truly judge a player if they get a decent run of games. Then I think if someone's played 6-7 games back to back, then you can make a decision then as to whether you think they're good enough or they're effective enough or not. Kipre, he played in that game at the start of the season, didn't he, against Bournemouth, and he did look a bit shaky, and I think a few fans out there have kind of made their mind up based on that one game. But I thought he did quite well yesterday. I don't know about you. I thought he was fairly solid. He won plenty of balls in the air. I didn't think he did anything particularly wrong. So.
Yeah, well, I was one of the things I noted about him was that he was really getting forward towards the last stage of the game. I don't know whether you saw him on the right wing at one point where he was blasting in crosses and stuff. He was really progressive, I suppose. Well, I kind of think that Ajayi really was a bit at fault for a couple of the chances that we conceded, and I think Kipre did what he was asked to do quite well, which is just be physical against a very physical front line that Millwall like to play. And I think he did a decent job. There's no reason to say that he's a bad defender at all. Obviously, as you said, the Bournemouth game he did look a little bit shaky, and I was a bit worried him coming into the side. I looked at the lineup and I was like, oh no, because he might make. Yeah, he did make a couple of mistakes in that Bournemouth game. But as you said, I don't think he really did anything that out of order, to be honest.
No, you're right. I thought he was solid, and like you said, towards the end of the game, I think he grew in confidence. He was coming out of defence with the ball, wasn't he? And he was looking to make some accurate passes, because I think up until the second half it was very direct from us, wasn't it? And it wasn't really until the second half where we started to kind of pass it on the floor a lot better, a lot more effectively. So he was definitely looking to come out from defence and get some attacks going, wasn't he? So I thought he did well, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. I think, and obviously Millwall brought what we expected from Millwall, really, with a raucous atmosphere, lots of aggression in their play and physicality. Yeah. What did you make of the Millwall side that turned out against Albion yesterday? Obviously, Nick got a point away at what we are now top of the league, which is a very good point for them, and obviously they brought their physicality. What did you make of them?
It was exactly what I expected, to be honest, mate. Millwall, you all know what you're going to get from Millwall, don't you? Like you said, they're a big team. They're physical, but fair play to them. They work hard, don't they? They graft and they get stuck in, and they get in your face. You can't say you never know what you're going to get from Millwall. You know what you're going to get, exactly what you're going to get from them, don't you? And I think this is the kind of first test, I guess, for Ismail, is because I think yesterday against Millwall and in the game beforehand against Peterborough, we've come up against two teams now, haven't we? We've kind of played quite direct, have been quite aggressive, been quite physical, got in our faces, so to speak, and we've found both games tricky, haven't we? And I felt Millwall were fully deserved of their point yesterday. I thought they defended incredibly well. We were pumping a lot of balls into the box, weren't we? A lot of crosses. Yeah. And they were just dealing with the vast majority of them. And they had a couple of chances themselves, didn't they? You touched on it earlier. Their best two chances came due to poor back passes, didn't they, from a guy? Yeah. And Johnson had to save his blushes, but. I thought Millwall, deserved the points, and they executed their game plan well. I think that's probably the best way to summarise it. But I feel like there's going to be a lot of teams who come and set up like that and approach the game like that. Try and wind us up, because they were taking their time, weren't they, with all the set pieces and goal kicks and throw-ins, and they were contesting a lot of decisions and stuff. It was a hard watch, wasn't it? It was. Yeah,
definitely in that first half. I think obviously it was so direct from both teams. I mean, not just from Millwall. I said to my dad, I know Millwall are playing their long ball, but I'm not actually sure that we've been much more civilized than them, to be honest. But it was a difficult watch, especially in that first half. Obviously, we played quite direct, and I thought that maybe a little bit we did play into Millwall's hands for some parts of the game, because I thought they're going to want to. So we knew they were going to come and they want us to try and beat them physically, which is unlikely because obviously they're such a big side. They remind me of Burnley just in the Championship, really, with their just strong defenders, want the ball in the air, want to head it away. I don't know what you made of that, but I thought we did play into their hands a little bit with the way we were playing.
Yeah, 100%. And I was chatting to a few guys around where I sit at the game, and we were saying, there's got to be a plan B almost against these kind of teams, because like you just hit the nail on the head. It's playing into their hands. I know we scored from a cross into the box, but 98% of everything that came into the box, it was cleared really with ease, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we weren't really posing them much problems whatsoever until halfway through that second half, when we made some changes and started to knock it around on the ground a bit. So I was a little bit disappointed that it was clearly evident in that first half that it wasn't working, but we didn't really change the approach until the second half. And then even then it wasn't, we were still playing quite direct, weren't we? It was a bit better. There was a bit of an improvement, but it wasn't a vast improvement, was it? There was still plenty of long balls being played, and they were just cleaning them up every time. So it was a frustrating one, I felt.
Yeah, I think obviously Hugo came on half time, didn't he? And I think that just sort of encouraged us to play more long balls, really. Obviously, Hugo, he is a big lad, but he's not the biggest, and he certainly isn't as big as those Millwall defenders. He did try and put himself about it a bit, didn't he? But I suppose when he came on, I thought, we're just going to do more of the same, but we're actually going to have somebody really to aim at. And obviously, I thought when Robinson came on, I thought that was sort of a cue for us to get the ball down, because he obviously, the midfielders, Mowat and Livermore throughout the game were just sort of just lumping these balls on over, trying to get them over the top of the defence. And when Robinson came on, he sort of like cut inside a bit, and he just stopped and he just got the ball on the floor. And that's when we sort of started playing a bit more.
Yeah, you're right. I was going to say the same thing, that it wasn't really until Robinson come on that we started to try and play a bit of football, around kind of 30 yards out edge of their box, because he was the only one at first that seemed to be willing to try and bring it down, have a touch, look up and try and bring others into play. And then once he started doing that, it seemed to encourage others to try and do the same, because you're right, up until then, it was just really kick and rush, wasn't it? And it was hard to watch because Millwall were just dealing with it so well. So
I think the referee, was a bit suspect. I think at times, I think they were, he kind of, as we did, really play into their hands and letting things go, just letting things brush past, and then allowing them to do a little bit of their time waste and allowing them to do a bit of their, wrestling around and stuff. I thought that he didn't really help. He helped Millwall's cause, I think, with how they want to play. They want to slow the game down, because like every time they had a throw in, they got back, they took their time, so they got back in their shape, and then all of a sudden we're back and we can't break them down again. Don't know what you made of that, but I thought the referee was kind of a bit suspect. I'm not making excuses for our performance, but like letting them get back into their shape and slowing things down.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he struggled to. It was a feisty affair, wasn't it? Really, I think there was some good tackles, and there was some good kind of individual battles, wasn't there, on the pitch?
Yeah.
But I think their game plan was exactly that: to slow the game down as much as possible, try and kill any kind of tempo that we created. But like you said, the referee needs to kind of see that and then deal with it, tell them that he's not going to accept it. And as soon as if he was to book someone for time waste, and then that'd stop that, wouldn't it? But I just felt he just failed to deal with like I said, it was a bit of a feisty game, and I just felt like he didn't deal with that very well whatsoever. And it probably favoured them more than us, because there was lots of fouls given, wasn't there? And he was plenty of times he kept talking to the players instead of just letting quick free kicks take place. And the ref didn't help either. It was he just kind of added to the the frustrations, didn't
Yeah.
he? You know, we were frustrated with Albion's performance. We were frustrated with Millwall, how they were kind of approaching the game, and then the ref just like topped it all off, didn't it? Because he failed to get a good handle of the game, I felt.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was just added frustrations just throughout the game. The next foul he doesn't give, and then it just carried on. And then obviously they went and scored from another set piece situation. I think both goals came from set piece situations. So it was a bit of a it was one of them where it's just so frustrating. It's the sort of game that it reminds me of when teams like bigger teams used to come to the Hawthorns and play against the Tony Pulis West Brom. And, Millwall were just sitting back. They defended really well to their credit and they worked hard. And we just couldn't break them down. It's just one of them. And then, they wanted us to get involved in scraps and, fights and tussles and stuff. And I think we played to it quite a few times, which are a little bit worrying. But obviously, one of the personnel on the pitch I wanted to talk about was Dean Garner, because he got pulled off at half time, which I thought was I don't know where you stand on that, but I thought it was a little bit harsh because I didn't think I know he hasn't really found his spark, and I don't think he's got a goal contribution so far this season, but he has shown glimpses of being all right, but obviously pulled off at half time. What were your thoughts when that happened?
I did think it was harsh because I didn't think he, in that first half, in regards to that, the front three, I didn't feel he was the worst out of that front three. He had that chance early on, didn't he, where he dragged it just wide, which he'd worked the chance himself well. And then he obviously won the penalty just before half time. So I didn't think he was the worst player from those front three. I think I can kind of understand why Ismail made the decision, because I think, unfortunately for Dean Garner, I think in terms of our attacking players, I think he probably is the weakest in terms of his physicality.
Yeah.
And, I don't think he's as direct as some of the other players. He likes to get the ball down. He likes to try and beat players, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Whereas I think the likes of Phillips and Grant, they're more direct. And I think they kind of suit Ismail's tactics and approach more than Dean Garner. So I can understand why he made the change, but the thing I was just saying after the game was it's not going to do his confidence good at all, is it? He got pulled off at half time. I'm just worried about his confidence more than anything, because he had a tough season last season. He hardly played when Allardyce was brought in, and then all the Albion fans were hoping this season, we were going to see the Dean Garner that pulled the division apart under Slaven Bilic, but he's had a tough start, hasn't he? But I think the majority of fans feel that if he can just get a good run of games, that good player could return. But Ismail, he takes no prisoners, does he? If he wants to change something, he changes it, doesn't he? And it's irrelevant who you are, really. So, but I did think it was harsh. I'm with you. I did feel it was harsh because I probably felt like Grant and probably Phillips, were playing worse than him. So
I thought that really. I thought Grant obviously missed the penalty, and obviously we talked about you mentioned confidence, and I don't think that's done Grant much help with his confidence with a penalty like that's saved, and obviously that he now knows would have won us the game. So it's a bit of a shame for him to miss that, and obviously his confidence would have gone just then. But I think Dean Garner, I think he's one of those players that just needs a bit of an arm round almost, a bit of a, you can do it sort of thing, because he has got the ability, as you said, to tear a division apart as he did under Bilic. I just think with Valerian Ismail and his system, I think I don't quite know where he fits in it or how he fits in it, because it's just, obviously, especially yesterday when it was so direct, he did like when he got the ball down and he had a run, obviously did a really intelligent run right by me, to be honest, but for the penalty, and obviously got fouled. So I think he's definitely shown some glimpses. It's just one of those things where he could almost do with not being hauled off at half time to almost allow him to continue in the vein that he did in the first half.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a good point. I think, Ismail, he's got this approach, he's got this style, hasn't he? And I think some players are going to adapt to it quicker than others, aren't they? But I think with Dean Garner, due to the ability that we all know he possesses and how good a player he can be, I'd be willing to give him some games to adapt to, Ismail's tactics and his approach. Because, once he does, if he is able to do that, then we've got a fantastic player there, haven't we? Who can be really dangerous at this level, and I'd be willing to, he could have a few mediocre performances up until, he reaches that level where he's fully grasped the tactics, fully grasped his role. But Ismail doesn't seem to be willing to do that. Every time Diangana's been a bit quiet, he's pulled him off fairly quickly, hasn't he? And swapped things up. So it's a tough one. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, really, because I'm a bit worried, if I'll be honest with you. I don't know what you feel like that. Yeah, he might get phased out. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you there. To be honest, I'm a bit, as you said, a bit worried about him. To be honest, I just think he never seems to want to give him another chance. Almost like when he does something. Obviously, he's had quiet games. He's not been good in a few of the games this season. And every single one of those, as you mentioned, he's off. He's straight off. Obviously, we've heard the tales from Barnsley fans of Ismail change the whole front three at a time. He's obviously not afraid to just haul players off if they're not meeting the standards, which I don't think is what Diangana would want, to be honest, as a player. To be honest, he probably wants just like when he's playing okay, like he did yesterday in the first half, and did some good things, and obviously won the penalty, did a few good dribbles, and got in behind the defence a couple of times. It's a bit odd that he was hauled off, to be honest. I thought it was a bit harsh and a bit maybe abrupt. I thought maybe give him another 10, 15 minutes, but I suppose in Ismail's head, maybe he's just thinking, I can't wait 10 minutes. I need to make the change now because the game's not going the way we want. So it's a bit worrying in that respect. Obviously, a difficult game and probably a pretty scrappy affair. Would you, in terms of like the tactics of the game, obviously we decided to play fairly direct. When Robinson came on, does that sort of fill you a bit of confidence that we can sort of change up our game plan a little bit and obviously play a bit more on the floor? Because obviously first half was very direct and so was a bit of the second half. But when Robinson came on, as we mentioned, it changed a little bit. Do you think that's sort of an emergence of a little bit of a plan B coming in?
Yeah, definitely. I was chatting to someone earlier today, another Albion fan, and I was saying I'm not worried because I think the main reason why I'm not worried is that you look at Barnsley last season. They were picking up points, weren't they, consistently in Ismail's range. So he was obviously able to overcome it with Barnsley. Coming up against teams that played a similar approach, similar tactics, they were still picking up points off those teams. So he was able to adapt with Barnsley. So I think he will be able to adapt with us. And like you said, when Robinson came on, we did look a lot better. And I honestly do feel like he doesn't know his strongest team yet. I do think the vast majority of positions within that starting 11, are nailed on. But I do think, and it's probably more the front three, I don't think he knows yet his best front three. You might have a difference in opinion, but I feel like, I felt when Robinson come on and he was playing with Hugo and Phillips, I thought those three looked really good together, to be honest. I know we still struggled to carve out any kind of genuine opportunities, but I thought, the football was a lot better and those three were linking up quite well. And I still feel like, he's not 100% yet as to who his favoured front three are, with Hugo coming in obviously towards the end of the transfer window. I'm not worried. And like you said, there was positive signs towards the end of the half. And sometimes you just have these days, don't you? Football. Sometimes you just have these games where you're not at your best, and you have a bit of a naff game. But I think ultimately we played poorly, but we still got a point out of it, didn't we? And we're still unbeaten. That was the kind of silver lining from it. So I'm not concerned. Anyway.
I think when I came out of the game and I heard that Fulham had lost, I was like, have we really just gone top of the league whilst, after that performance, it was just, and everybody eventually just sort of went, oh, forget about the performance. We're top of the league. It doesn't matter. Obviously, Peterborough performance, I wouldn't say was that much better, but got 3 points at the end of it. And at the end of the day, it's a results-based business. And Valérien Ismaël and the squad are going to be judged at the end of the season by whether they've got enough points to go up. And if they're getting points when they're playing badly, I don't think we can really complain, can we?
No, you're right. And, you make a good point with that, with Blackpool beating Fulham. Everyone was saying that Fulham were going to absolutely smash the league. They were going to get 100+ points, loads of goals. And, to be honest, I was kind of thinking along the same lines based on how they started. But that Blackpool defeat, they've come crashing back down to earth. And it just proves how crazy difficult this decision is that, the best team, one of the best teams in the division got beaten by the team that come up from the League One playoffs. That's just the Championship to a T, isn't it? It's such a difficult division. Anyone can beat anyone. It's as simple as that, home and away. So it was kind of good that result had happened, I guess, because I think the fans that were, kicking off a bit afterwards, it was a bit of a reality check that, look, well, Fulham lost to Blackpool as well. These things happen throughout the course of a Championship season. Even the best teams lose against some of the weaker teams, so to speak. So
I think it was just coming out and seeing that result, and you just look and you could go, it could be a lot worse. We could have lost today. Fulham are obviously beatable by the looks of things, so it should have given, obviously, the performance maybe not given us so much optimism because it was a bit turgid and flat at times. And obviously we've analysed that today and talked about it. But at the end of the day, top of the league, it's not something that we can complain about. And Blackpool have proved to us that somebody can beat Fulham. So there's a chance that, we could really go toe to toe. Obviously, I do think they've got a better squad, and obviously they've got a stacked squad for Championship level. But there is hope that we can really give them a go, and so can other teams as well to take some points off them.
Yeah, definitely. It's just an incredibly tough division, and you're right. Fulham will be up there undoubtedly, but I wouldn't say reality check, but it's the fans that think we were maybe going to do something different, similar, it's so tough. It's such a tough division. And Millwall proved that, didn't they? Millwall proved that yesterday. They were deserved of their point. They probably had the better chances on the face of it, with the ones where, those poor back passes from Ajayi. So, I think the unbeaten run is important. The fact that we haven't lost yet. I remember the season under Bilic, that start we had. We were unbeaten, weren't we, for some time? I think we lost the Leeds eventually. And then we picked up again. And I think, if you can keep that unbeaten run going for as long as possible, it just kind of fills you with confidence, fills the players with confidence, doesn't it? That, well, we haven't lost yet. Let's keep on going. I just think it was important we didn't lose that game yesterday, because we could have quite easily lost it, So, I'm not too disheartened. It was a poor game, but I'd take the point at the end of the day.
Absolutely. A point, I suppose, when you're playing a team like Millwall and you're having a game like you did, it's not that bad. But obviously going on to Tuesday night's fixture against Derby, it's going to be another difficult one, because I suppose they're going to be another team that are going to probably look at how Millwall have played yesterday and just go, we can do a similar job, we can be physical, and we'll see if they can break us down. How do you think we need to sort of adapt and change going into that one?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, you're right, Derby, everyone's had them nailed on to go down, and to be fair, they've probably exceeded expectations so far this season. They've had a few good results. I think we're going to, I think Derby ultimately, Rooney likes to try and play football, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's tried to implement a passing game, a possession-based game. So I think the game on Tuesday, it'll be better suited for us. I think our approach and Ismaël's tactics, I think it's better suited against those teams that like to try and play football and get on the ball as much as possible and pass it, along the back line and in central midfield, because that's when we press and win the ball back. So, I think we'll be better suited for how Derby set up. But you're right in that teams will now have looked at the Peterborough game, and looked at the Millwall game and thought, well, look, West Brom have struggled in these two matches. Maybe this is how we've got to approach it ourselves. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Derby, push aside, the way they normally approach games, and take a different approach to, something similar to what Millwall did against us yesterday. It'll be interesting to see, but I'm not too sure Rooney will do that. I think he's got this kind of philosophy almost, and I think he'll maybe try and stick to that, which I think will suit us better, to be honest. So I'm feeling confident going into Tuesday.
Yeah, and are there any changes that you'd perhaps make to the lineup? Obviously, I don't think Matt Clark's going to be back just yet. I think that's still going to be a few weeks. But obviously, any changes that you'd make going on what you saw against Millwall?
I think I'd make changes to the front three, to be honest. I think the rest of the team at this moment in time picks itself, in defence, until Keane Bryan's fully fit and up to speed. I think I'd remain playing Kipre in that back three. But yeah, I'd definitely bring Robinson back in, and I'd probably start Hugo, after the kind of cameo yesterday. I thought, like you said earlier on in the video, he put himself about. I thought he worked really hard. He won some good flick-ons, and he was trying to link up play. So my front three for the game on Tuesday would be Robinson, Hugo, and Phillips. That would be my front three. I think those three at this moment in time are our most informed players, I guess. I think Grant and Dean Garner are just a bit low on confidence at the moment, and
well, I think I don't know. I think I agree with you in terms of that front three, because I think they're the ones that I think you're going to get the best out of. But then I'm looking at, like we said earlier about Dean Garner. If I was the manager, I'd want to give him a game. But then again, do I want to play my best team, or do I want to? Do I want to give somebody a chance and maybe they won't perform? I mean, it's a real dilemma. I'd probably stick with the front three that you've said. I think Hugo deserves a start. I don't think he's done much wrong in his first two substitute appearances, and obviously seems quite fit and obviously willing to run. So I think against Derby, he might want to play a bit more football. He might add a bit more of a physical approach, as we've bullied a few of those teams that we've played against. I think he could almost add that in a bit more. So yeah, I think I'll agree with you on the front three. I mean, Dean Garner, I want to give him a game, but I think if he's pulled off at half time, I don't think he's going to play, to be honest.
I just think with the way we play football, we need like a target man, don't we, down the middle?
Yeah.
Now I know Robinson at the start of the season, he was playing down the middle and he was playing well, but even in those games, he was struggling a bit with some of those direct balls, some of those longer balls to win the flick-ons and bring the ball down, etc. I just think with the way Ismail sets up and the way he plays, that there needs to be that target man down the middle. And I think at this moment in time, Hugo is the best option to play in that position. And I think Robinson himself would probably prefer to play, off that target man with a bit more license, to, like he did on Saturday, to kind of roam a little bit and try and get on the ball. But I think we're going to see Hugo brought into that starting 11, to be honest with you. That's what I think anyway. I think he might get a start against Derby. So but you're right. Dean Garner, Derby are one of the weaker teams in the division. So do you give Dean Garner another start and hope that against a weaker team he can get a goal, get an assist, build some confidence?
Yeah,
it's tough.
Yeah,
you're right. It's a tough.
They're just quite strong in the fullback areas. I think that's one of the areas in their team, Derby, that haven't had to replace with free agents or youngsters at the academy. I think their fullback positions have been relatively strong. So I think Dean Garner, do you bring him in for this game? I personally probably would leave him on the bench and bring him on if things aren't going well. But yeah, obviously it's going to be a difficult one. What do you think the score's going to be, Tom? Have you got a prediction you can give us?
I'm going to go over 2-0 West Brom win. I'd like a solid 2-0 win. You know, a couple of goals, solid performance, clean sheet would be nice. So yeah, I'm gonna go with 2-0. Yeah.
I'm gonna go 1-0. I think Hugo will score, and I think it'll be quite late on, to be honest. For some reason, I've got an inkling that he'll get his first goal. I feel like he did miss a couple of chances against Peterborough that he could have scored. So I feel like he'll get in the areas. It's just whether he can put them away. But Tom, a massive thank you for coming on the show today. It's been a massive pleasure having you. And obviously, if you just want to tell everyone where you can find your Baggies Bulletin page on Instagram, what sort of at it is.
Yeah, so yeah, it's basically at Baggies Bulletin on Instagram. So yeah, just type it in, I'll pop up, and if you give me a follow, that'll be absolutely fantastic. So, but yeah, thanks, mate, for having me on. I've really enjoyed chatting to you, bud.
Honestly, a pleasure to have you on, Tom. I'll leave a link in the description for your Baggies Bulletin page, so everybody go and drop Tom a follow and obviously get involved in the discussion and the debates. But that does bring me to the end of the Baggies podcast for this week. It's been a massive pleasure having you. As I said at the start of the episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a nice rating if you've enjoyed the episode. We'll see you again just after the Derby game for another match reaction. But from me and Tom, we'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.